My profile was basically in consulting. I had worked at various associates for 5 years and did my engineering in electronics and communication engineering from VIT Vellore. I wanted to, do something on similar lines, and was looking for colleges that have, good reputation on in that function. ISB was one of those choices, and it was my priority. Consulting background, geography. These were two important things for me to go for ISB. There are a couple of things that I thought needed to be addressed. My GPA was not that great, and my academic background in that sense becomes a little of a of an area of doubt when considering my profile. I was fairly confident of my professional experience. I had a GMAT of 750. Academic was something that was giving me headaches. So I reached out to help for help. My real ISB admission experience began. We started chatting. I shared my profile, raised my concerns and we talked about it. How position this, how tricky these things could be to handle, and how to highlight my strengths and be honest with your issues, like whatever happened, but you don't highlight that. You don't focus on that. You focus on your strengths. Your help was the key thing. I would say it would have been very difficult to address these issues by just being on me. So thank you for that. That was really helpful. You highlighted that this could be a very good story. Tricky questions like, what do you think is your weakness? That is also a tricky thing to handle. If you put that on profile, it becomes difficult. Keep your strengths and weaknesses very much aligned with your professional experience. That helped, I think, not just in my profile selection, but also in my interview. The interview was based on my professional experience. We had been discussing this, like, why not highlight those things? And we also had some mock sessions for interviews after my selection for the interview. What I did was, basis the stories that we discussed, basis the feedbacks that you shared, I created an Excel of all the questions that would be. I noted almost all the questions in an Excel and had a column with answers that should be given. So I went ahead and kept doing that for about 10 days. And in the span of those 10 days, we had 3 mock sessions and tried to build on that. That was very important because that gave my interview a very structured experience. I had a set of questions. I knew these were my strength questions, just to say, and I needed to keep the interview, aligned on those lines. For example, the first thing that any interviewer would ask is, "Tell me about yourself." So that "Tell me about yourself," I had it prepared, and the pointers that I had in "Tell me about yourself" were designed by me in such a way that these are the questions they will definitely ask, and those questions came from from the videos that you had shared. So I tried to cram all of it, the pointers that I wanted interview to go along, and I just added in that "Tell me about yourself" paragraph, so that when they started, they ask a question that I'd want them to ask. So this happened because I went through those videos. I went through every video twice, jotted down everything. As I said, I created an Excel, then had mock session with you, had some feedbacks, incorporated them. Then I realized that this is something that could be done, and that is how my interview experience was actually very good. And I realized then that if they had to not select me, they would not select me on the basis of my profile, not my interview. So I would summarize my ISB Admit experience in this way. It really started when I contacted you, and when we discussed various aspects of my profile, and when we considered my experience, if there were issues, anything, we tried to create a story. We went through weaknesses and strengths and everything, experiences, and that experience helped me prepare for my interviews. So I used that experience, the YouTube videos that you had sent for interview preparation, and the feedbacks that you gave, and basis all that I created Excel document and just read it on my last evening. So that is how I describe myself.
Correct. And all that was very impactful. You also have a great scholarship at hand as well.
Yes, I'm not sure if that is if they have done a mistake, but yeah, somehow I got a scholarship. But yeah, glad it's an inexpensive program, so it's good.
What would be, some tips and strategies for the future applicants, for people who are just starting off on this journey in terms of their GMAT preparation or their application or the interview prep?
I had taken GMAT in April. I had started in September 2021, and some tutorials. For example, eGMAT is a very popular. There is a Jamboree tutorial. I was fairly confident of one of the sections, verbal section. I was fairly confident that I'll be able to handle. Quant section, but I just needed practice for a couple of sections. For GMAT, there are three things for me that work for others as well. First of all, you go for a credible tutorial. If you are going online for online, a credible one. So reach out to people, go on forums and read what's the best. Because I started one tutorial a month ago, but it did not work. Like, it was not good at all. So go for a credible resource. Second thing would be go for a good test series. Have a test series apart from the original GMAT one. Stick to the questions and explanations in the GMAT tutorials, in the GMAT official tutorials. The questions they ask, they are basis those that have been historically asked. You can't consider what Manhattan Prep is thinking and for answering a GMAT question. So those three things work for me in GMAT, and that would be my advice on GMAT. My preparation for GMAT was almost as grueling as for my application process. The application process is not easy. The test was as I got my application process. My suggestion, the first suggestion is, if you have any doubts, reach out for help. Reach out for credible help. Go through 4 or 5 good ones that you think, and read what their expertise are in. So the reason I went for GOALisB is my target school was IIP, and I knew that this could be the best option, and especially when you have doubts. And there are some profiles that are almost flawless. There are academic credentials, there are extracurricular, good professional experience, good GMAT experience. If they think they don't need help, it's okay. But if you have any doubt, seek out help, and stick to when you are in that process. If your story is being built, if your story is persuasive, first of all, don't go with an open book. Go with a story of yourself, and when you are really working with somebody and telling your story, things will come up. And that is how this process would start. Build your own story before going to somebody to talk to, and then open that dialogue. What is wrong? What is right? What is wrong is obviously, so everybody asks. That is why you have sought help. But what is right is also an important question. What is actually going good for you? So that is something that really came out to me in this dialogue. And if you get past that selection criteria for interview, have some mock. They are very important. For our discussions, I use the video that you had sent, but I'm assuming that. So another thing outside that I did was I was going through the video, and I was also looking at 3-4 websites if they were in line with what I was seeing in the videos. If there was something else, some other question that was coming up, that was not the situation, but I tried to make sure I was not missing on anything. As I said, seek help. Try to build your story, work on it with the person where you have sought help from, and prepare for interview well. That can be a big factor. Mock interviews, having documentation of questions that you know, and when you are going to the mocks, you will be refining it over time. So that would be my overall. It's not an advice. It was an essay, but It's still recorded
But
with yours.
it's going to be very helpful.
Hopefully,
Right.
it would not have been possible without you. I was not confident of my profile. There are two things: you struggle with your profile, and then you are not confident about your profile. So when you settle something in the profile, you are not just addressing the issue; you are also giving confidence to the applicant. Those are two different things that are achieved. So thanks for that. I really appreciate it.